Hello. In this section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a two simple webdynpro component which I can use into the floor plan applications to configure the UIBBs. So basically, when we wanted a webdynpro component to participate into an FPM framework, we have to implement an interface called if underscore FPM underscore UI underscore building block. So what this interface basically does is this serves as a bridge between the FPM application and our webdynpro component, which you're going to configure as an UI babies. So in the later sessions we will see how to configure the UI babies using different floor plans like OVP or overview page floor plan or object instance floor plan or guided activity floor plan. But before we go and do configuration, we need a webdynpro component to be configured. So and that is what we are going to create here in this particular session. Right. So enter the name of the webdynpro component and click on enter. Provide proper description. Then enter a suitable name for the view and window and click on enter. Now this is going to create you a webdynpro component. Right, it's just an ordinary webdynpro component that we have created. So activate the component. So the first thing that I would be interested to do is to implement the FPM interface which is necessary for the configuration. So if you do not implement this interface and if you are going to configure a webdynpro component, it is going to throw you an error, something it's not accessible. Right, so move on to the implemented interface tab and in change mode implement the interface if underscore fpm underscore ui underscore building block. Then you have added the interface and then click on re-implement the interface. Now this is going to do is whatever the method that are there in the if underscore fpm UABB building block is going to be available for you in your component controller. Now if you wanted to modify something intermediately during the processing of your application, then these are the events that are going to be triggered. So the first event that would be triggered would be the flush event. So if you take a look at the flush event, it has the list of interface view that are available in the application. So here you basically refresh the data or initialize some values. The next method that gets executed would be needs confirmation. Okay, yeah. The next method that get executed would be needs confirmation. Say for example, you are going to trigger some action. Then what happens? The flush method gets triggered. Then after that, the need confirmation method get triggered. So in this confirmation, you are going to do the validation that whether are you sure you wanted to go proceed with the action. If yes, then you are going to trigger the it is going to trigger the process event method. So the process event method, we actually do the handling of what is the event that has been triggered in the fpm, and accordingly we will write our logic over here. Now these three methods, that flush, needs confirmation and process event, they act as a process after input methods. Then once the process event method has been triggered, method has been successfully completed, then the after failed event method will be called. So this method, they do not get called all the time. This method they get called only when the event underscore result is going to be failed. So when system identified, when you have marked something as an error that happened inside this process event method, only then after failed event method is going to be triggered. In other cases, it will not trigger the failed event method. So in the failed event method, you will be able to handle the messages, or if you wanted to revert something, then yes, you can do it. Right. Then after that, the PBO method will be triggered, which is again going to transfer the data from your interface to the interface view, sorry, your webdynpro component to the interface view, right? So these are some of the methods that the interfaces has. So to recall once again, the flush needs confirmation and process event method act as a PBO, PAI, whereas the after failed event and PBO, process before output method, act as the PBO events here. So that's it with this interfaces. We are not going to do anything right over here. Now let's just go ahead and prepare our webdynpro component for FPM configurations. So now before we go ahead, I have to explain one other thing, which is interface view. The interface view are considered to be the UIBBs in FPM framework. So what is this interface view? Interface view is basically nothing but a combination of a window and a view which is visible at any point of time. So which is visible at some point of time. So this combination is going to be considered together as an interface view. You are aware that the window holds the view and view is the one that is going to be displayed in the browser. But you are also aware that at any point of time there can be only one window and one view active in the screen. Now if you're going to load multiple views within a window, what it is going to do, it is going to ask you for a default view, and by default you can only assign one view as a default view. So while rendering, the window along with the default view will be rendered on the screen, whereas all the other views will be instantiated and it will be there in the window memory so that it can load at the later stage. Now here the important point that we have to notice, even though only one view is going to be displayed at a time, if there are some several other views within the window, I'm going to still instantiate them and I'm going to have them in the memory, which is going to reduce my performance. So in FPM, the guideline was provided that within an interface view, within a window, there has to be only one view. So if you are going to violate this, then you are violating the architecture of FPM and you are not using the full advantage of FPM. So whenever you create an UIBB, I mean which is the interface view, it has to be a combination of only one view and window. You should not add multiple views within a window. Now say for example, this is the window that we have created. This is the window that we have created, and within this window I have specified this v underscore main as a default. Now the combination of these two makes it as an interface view, and the interface view will be declared within the interface controller with the same name as that of window. Since it is the same name, you don't have to get confused. So but trust me, this is an interface view and this is an interface. This is the one that you are going to see on the FPM configuration screen, right? So in our application we have only one view and window. Now let me just go ahead and insert some content over here. So I'm just specifying some text over here, which is this text appear from component component 1 and view 1. So I am going to need some other UIBBs as well. So I'm going to construct a view which is v underscore second. I'm going to name it as second view, and I'm going to add the content over here as a text view, and this is going to say this content comes from component 1 but second view, right? So now in order to make this view visible, I have to create another window, and this window I'm going to create with the name w underscore window. And inside this window I'm going to embed my second view. right? Now, if you noticed, you will have been added with another one other interface view, sorry, interface view, which we can configure in the FPM application. So right click on the webdynpro component and activate this entire application. In a similar way, I'm going to create one other webdynpro component as well for our configuration. So once again, go to the implemented interface, go to the implemented interface and re-implement the interface. Then go to the view and add some content over here. This content comes from component 2, then activate the entire webdynpro application. So now we have created two webdynpro component which are available to be configured in the FPM applications. So these two webdynpro components contains three interface views in total, which means I can configure three UIBBs in my FPM applications. So I think this should be sufficient for us to learn the configuration stuff of the other FPM components, right? Now in the next session we will be seeing how to configure this webdynpro component as a overview page floor plan application. Thank you.